The silver spacecraft landed gently on Earth's main spaceport near the Global Science Institute. The door opened with a soft hiss, and out stepped Lena, her pale blue skin reflecting the morning sunlight. She carried a small bag containing her research tools and personal items. This was her first visit to Earth, and despite her scientific training, she felt nervous. Lena belonged to the Navari species, known across the galaxy for their advanced scientific knowledge and analytical minds. She had been selected for an important research mission, studying human reproduction. On her world, this topic was controversial. Many Navari scientists believed humans couldn't possibly reproduce the way Earth's scientific papers claimed. It seemed too complex, too inefficient, compared to the Navari's simple cell division process. The spaceport was busy with humans and various alien visitors moving in all directions. Lena adjusted her universal translator and checked her appearance in a reflective surface. Her head appendages twitched slightly, a sign of anxiety in her species. "Dr. Lena," a voice called. She turned to see a human male approaching. "I'm Ty, your research partner from the Institute." Ty was taller than she expected, with dark hair and friendly eyes. He wore the blue uniform of Earth's scientific community. "Yes, hello. Thank you for meeting me," Lena said formally, bowing slightly as her cultural briefing had advised. Ty smiled. "No need for such formality. We'll be working closely together for the next 6 months. Let me help you with your bags and show you to your quarters." As they walked through the spaceport, Lena observed the humans around her with scientific curiosity. They came in so many different shapes, sizes, and colors. The Navari were much more uniform in appearance. "Your research proposal was very interesting," Ta said as they entered a transport vehicle. "Though I must admit, some of us were surprised by your basic questions about human reproduction." Lena's head appendages flattened against her skull in embarrassment. "I understand it might seem strange to you, but on my world, many believe that human reproductive biology is exaggerated in scientific literature." "Exaggerated?" Ta looked confused. "In what way?" "The whole process seems unnecessarily complicated to us. 2 different types of humans combining genetic material. A small human growing inside another for months. It sounds like fiction to many Navari." Todd laughed, then quickly apologized. "I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. It's just fascinating how different species can have such different perspectives. What seemed completely normal to me my whole life seems bizarre to you." The transport vehicle hummed quietly as it took them toward the Institute. Through the window, Lena saw the sprawling human city with its mix of ancient and modern architecture. "How do Navari reproduce?" Ty asked. "We divide," Lena explained simply. "When a Navari reaches maturity, their cells begin a process similar to what you might call mitosis. Over a period of about 40 days, a single Navari becomes 2 identical individuals, each with the same memories and knowledge as the original." Tay's eyes widened. "That's remarkable. No wonder our method seems strange to you. No pregnancy, no combining of genetic material, no variation except through random mutation." They arrived at the Institute, a large complex of white buildings surrounded by gardens. Lena was shown to her living quarters, which had been specially adjusted for Navari comfort with higher humidity and warmer temperatures. "We'll begin our work tomorrow," Ta said. "The Institute has given us full access to the reproductive biology wing and all research materials. Is there anything specific you'd like to start with?" Lena hesitated. "Actually, I have a confession. My superiors sent me here partially to disprove what they consider human myths about reproduction. They believe humans must reproduce more like we do, and that Earth's scientific records are either mistranslated or deliberately misleading." Instead of being offended, Tai seemed intrigued. "That's even more interesting. So this is almost a diplomatic mission, as well as scientific research. Well, I promise to show you everything honestly, without any filters or misleading information." The next morning, Lena met Tai at the research center. He had prepared a comprehensive introduction to human reproduction, starting with basic biology. Humans have two biological sexes that contribute different genetic material, Tai explained, showing diagrams on a large screen. We call them male and female, though gender identity is more complex than biological sex. Lena studied the diagrams with scientific detachment, but still found the concept strange. And these two different humans must physically connect to reproduce. There's no self-division. Correct, Ta confirmed. The process we call sexual reproduction creates genetic diversity, which helps our species adapt to changing environments. Throughout the day, Lena learned about chromosomes, DNA combination, and fetal development. Each new piece of information challenged her previous understanding. I need to see more evidence, she said finally. On my world, we would need physical proof beyond diagrams and explanations. Ta nodded. That's perfectly reasonable. Tomorrow, with proper permissions, we can visit the medical center where human births occur. Seeing is believing, as we say here. That evening, Lena sent her first report back to the Navari Science Council. She wrote honestly about what she had learned, but noted she was still gathering evidence. She didn't mention her growing doubt about her mission's premise. In her private quarters, Lena looked out at the Earth night sky. She thought about how different this world was from her own. The idea that species could develop such completely different ways of creating new life challenged her scientific understanding. If humans truly reproduced the way Todd described, what other myths about other species might actually be true? Tomorrow would bring more answers, and probably more questions too. For the first time since arriving, Lena felt excitement replacing her nervousness. True discovery always meant being willing to have your beliefs challenged. That was the heart of science, no matter what planet you called home. 2 weeks had passed since Lena's arrival on Earth. Each day brought new surprises as she studied human reproduction. Today was special. Todd was taking her to visit the medical center where human babies were born. Are you ready? Todd asked as they walked across the Institute's campus. The morning air was cool, and Lena had wrapped an extra layer around her sensitive blue skin. I think so, Lena replied. Her head appendages quivered slightly. Though I must admit, I'm nervous. Watching another species reproduce seems very private. Tai smiled reassuringly. We won't intrude on anyone's privacy. There are medical simulations and educational tools, and we have permission to observe from a distance if any births happen today, but only with the parents' consent. They boarded a transport vehicle that took them to Central Medical Center, a tall white building in the heart of the city. Inside, Dr. Min greeted them. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a confident manner. Welcome to our birth center, Dr. Min said, leading them through clean corridors. I understand you're researching human reproduction from a comparative biology perspective. Yes, Lena answered. On my world, we reproduce through cellular division. 1 becomes 2. The idea of 2 becoming 3 is difficult for us to imagine. Dr. Min nodded. Many species throughout the galaxy have unique reproductive methods. That's what makes xenobiology so fascinating. They entered a room filled with advanced medical equipment. One wall displayed a large screen showing the development of a human embryo from conception to birth. This is where we'll start, Dr. Min explained. This simulation shows the entire 9-month human pregnancy process in just 10 minutes. Lena watched in silent amazement as the tiny cluster of cells on the screen divided and grew, gradually taking human form. The developing baby floated in fluid, connected to its mother by an umbilical cord. Extraordinary, Lena whispered. The baby grows inside a specialized organ. Yes, the uterus, Tai explained. It provides protection and nourishment for the developing baby. As the simulation continued, Lena asked dozens of questions. How does the baby breathe? How does it receive nutrition? What triggers the birth process? Dr. Min and Tai answered patiently, showing models and diagrams to help explain. Would you like to see our nursery? Dr. Min asked when they had finished with the simulation. We currently have 7 newborns being cared for. Lena's appendages straightened with interest. Yes, please. They walked to another section of the medical center. Through a large window, Lena could see several small clear bassinets, each containing a tiny human wrapped in soft blankets. They're so small, Lena observed, and each one looks different from the others. That's the beauty of sexual reproduction, Ty explained. Each child carries genetic material from both parents, creating unique combinations. This genetic diversity helps humans adapt to changing environments over generations. As they watched, a nurse picked up one of the babies who had started crying. The gentle way the nurse held and soothed the infant fascinated Lena. The bonding process between caregivers and infants is also important, Dr. Min explained. Unlike your species, human babies cannot care for themselves for many years. This seems inefficient, Lena noted. When an aviary divides, both resulting individuals are fully functional adults with all the knowledge of the original. Perhaps, Ty agreed, but this inefficiency creates strong social bonds. Human children learn from their parents and community, which allows for cultural evolution alongside genetic evolution. Later that day, with special permission, they observed a birth from a respectful distance. Lena watched as a new human entered the world amid the mother's effort and pain, followed by tears of joy from both parents. Are all births this emotional? Lena asked afterward, still processing what she had witnessed. Most are, Ta said. Creating new life is considered profound in human culture. That evening, back at her quarters, Lena recorded her observations for her report to the Navari Science Council. Her appendages twitched as she carefully chose her words. After direct observation, I can confirm that human reproduction occurs exactly as described in their scientific literature. The process differs completely from our own, yet is perfectly adapted to their biology and evolution. I must acknowledge that my initial skepticism was unfounded. She paused, then added, I recommend we reconsider our stance on other species' biological processes. What seems impossible through the lens of our own experience may simply be a different evolutionary solution. The next morning, Lena found Tai in the research lab reviewing genetic data. I've been thinking, she said, sitting beside him. If I'm to truly understand human reproduction, I should learn more about the social and emotional aspects as well. The scientific process alone doesn't explain everything I observed yesterday. Todd looked up, pleased by her interest. You're right. Would you like to meet my sister and her family? She has 3 children of different ages. It might help you understand how human families function. I would appreciate that, Lena said. That weekend, they visited Ta's sister Mina and her family in a pleasant home outside the city. The children, ages 2, 7, and 12, were initially shy around Lena, but soon warmed up to her, curious about her blue skin and head appendages. Do you have babies on your planet? The 7-year-old asked innocently. Not in the way you do, Lena explained simply. We grow until we become 2 people instead of 1. Like cells dividing. The 12-year-old asked. We learned about that in science class. Exactly like that, Lena said, impressed by the child's knowledge. Later, as they watched the children play in the garden, Minna explained her perspective on parenthood. Having children changed me completely. It's challenging, exhausting, and the most meaningful thing I've ever done. On their way back to the institute, Lena was quieter than usual. What are you thinking about? Tai asked. I'm realizing that my research needs to be broader than I planned, Lena admitted. Understanding human reproduction isn't just about biology. It's about family structures, emotional bonds, and cultural practices too. That's a mature scientific perspective, Ta said approvingly. Being willing to expand your research when new questions arise. Lena's head appendages relaxed in what Tai had come to recognize as a sign of contentment. I came here thinking I would disprove a myth. Instead, I'm discovering a truth more complex and beautiful than I imagined. 3 months into her research on Earth, Lena received an unexpected message from the Navari Science Council. After reviewing her preliminary reports, they requested that she invite her human research partner to visit their homeworld. This was unprecedented. No human had ever been invited to observe Navari reproduction firsthand. "They want me to go to your planet?" Tai asked, eyes wide with surprise when Lena shared the news. "This is an incredible opportunity." "It is quite unusual," Lena admitted, her head appendages twitching with nervous excitement. "The Council has been impressed by the detail and evidence in our research. They believe a true cultural exchange requires mutual observation." 2 weeks later, Tai found himself aboard a Navari transport ship, watching Earth shrink to a blue dot through the viewport. Despite his extensive training in xenobiology, he felt butterflies in his stomach. He would be the first human to document Navari reproduction up close. "How are you feeling?" Lena asked, noticing his gaze fixed on the disappearing Earth. "Excited, nervous, honored," Tai replied honestly. "I have so many questions about your world." "Just as I did about yours," Lena said with understanding. "The journey will take 5 days. We can use this time to prepare you for Navari biology and culture." During the journey, Lena explained more about her species. The Navari had evolved on a warm, humid world with 2 suns. Their blue skin contained special cells that converted sunlight into supplementary energy, similar to how plants used photosynthesis on Earth. "And your reproduction process, how exactly does it work?" Todd asked as they studied diagrams on a holographic display. "When a Navari reaches about 50 years of age, equivalent to human mid-20s, our bodies begin the division," Lena explained. "First, our internal organs duplicate. Then our bodies slowly expand as a new central nervous system forms. Finally, over the last 10 days, our external body separates into 2 identical individuals." "Is it painful?" Ta wondered. "Not painful exactly," Lena said thoughtfully, "but intense. We enter a meditative state called the quiet time during the final phase. That's why we have division centers where we can be monitored and protected during our vulnerability." When they finally arrived at Navari Prime, Ta gasped at his first view of the planet. Unlike Earth's blue and white, Navari Prime appeared purple and teal from space, with swirling cloud patterns unlike anything he'd seen before. The spaceport was a graceful structure with curved organic architecture. As they disembarked, Ta noticed the gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's. The air felt warm and humid against his skin, reminding him of tropical regions back home. Several Navari officials greeted them, their head appendages moving in patterns Tai couldn't yet interpret. He tried the formal greeting Lena had taught him, placing his right hand over his heart and bowing slightly. "Your pronunciation needs work," Lena whispered with amusement, "but they appreciate the effort." One older Navari stepped forward. "I am Elder Darrow from the Science Council. Welcome to our world, Human Ta. We are interested in your research." "Thank you for this honor," Tai replied. "I hope to learn much from your people." They traveled by hover vehicle to the Science Academy, a sprawling complex of domed buildings surrounded by purple vegetation. Ta noticed how the architecture seemed designed to maximize exposure to the twin suns that hung in the sky. "Tomorrow, we will visit the Division Center," Elder Darrow explained. 3 Navari are currently in final phase and have consented to your observation for scientific purposes. That evening, Tai was given quarters adapted for human comfort, with lower humidity and cooling systems. He recorded his initial observations into his research log. The Navari approach reproduction as a sacred but scientific process. Unlike human reproduction, which involves partnership and strong emotional components, the Navari view their division as a solo biological function. However, there seems to be a cultural reverence for the process that parallels human attitudes toward birth. The next morning, Tai and Lena arrived at the Division Center, a peaceful building with gardens and meditation spaces. Inside, gentle music played, and the lighting mimicked the natural spectrum of the Navari suns. "This is the preparation chamber," Lena explained as they entered a large room. Several Navari in early phases of division rested on special curved platforms. Their bodies appeared slightly elongated, with visible ridges forming down their centers. A medical supervisor greeted them. These individuals began their division process 20 days ago. You can see the physical changes already underway. Tai observed with scientific fascination. The process is so gradual and controlled compared to human birth. Now we will visit the final phase chamber, the supervisor said. Please maintain complete silence. The individuals are in deep quiet time. They entered a dimly lit room where 3 Naveri lay in transparent enclosures. Taz's scientific training couldn't prevent his amazement as he watched. Each Naveri's body had nearly split into 2 connected forms, sharing only a thin connection at the lower extremities. Their eyes were closed and their breathing synchronized. Tomorrow, they will be 2 where once was 1, the supervisor whispered. The final separation usually occurs at dawn. Ta nodded, speechless at witnessing such a fundamentally different form of reproduction. Later that day, Ta presented his research on human reproduction to a group of Naveri scientists. He showed videos, diagrams, and data from Earth's medical archives. So the female carries the developing offspring internally for 9 months. One Naveri scientist asked, appendages twitching with what Ta now recognized as disbelief. Yes, Ta confirmed. The embryo implants in the uterine wall and grows there until birth. And there are significant physical changes to the female's body during this process. Another asked. Substantial changes, Ta agreed. Hormonal, skeletal, cardiovascular, and more. The questions continued for hours. Many Naveri still seemed skeptical despite the evidence Ta presented. Their own reproduction was so different that human methods seemed almost mythological to them. I understand your doubts, Ta said finally. When Lena first came to Earth, many of her questions seemed basic to us because we take our reproductive method for granted. I had the same reaction today, seeing your division process. Different evolutionary paths led our species to different solutions. That evening, Lena found Ta in his quarters, reviewing footage from the division center. You did well today, she said. The council was impressed by your presentation. Some still don't believe me, Ta noted. Change takes time, Lena replied. Remember how I was when I first arrived on Earth. Now I'm your strongest advocate. Ta smiled. Tomorrow we witness the final separation, right? Yes, Lena said. It's considered a moment of great significance, like a birth celebration on Earth, but quieter. As they watched the twin suns set through the window, Ta reflected on how far they had both come. What had begun as a simple research project had evolved into something more profound, a true cultural exchange that challenged both their species' assumptions. Through understanding each other's differences, they were building something unprecedented. A bridge between worlds based on mutual scientific curiosity and respect. Ta woke early to witness the final separation of the 3 Naveri in the division center. As he walked through the quiet morning streets with Lena, the twin suns were just beginning to rise, painting the purple sky with bands of gold and red. This is considered a sacred time, Lena explained softly. The completion of division always happens at dawn. Our ancestors believed the first light of day gave strength to both new individuals. When they arrived at the division center, several Naveri elders were already gathered in the observation area. They nodded respectfully to Lena, but gave Ta curious, sometimes suspicious glances. The human has been permitted to observe, one elder asked in a low voice. Yes, Elder Keto. The Science Council approved it. The medical supervisor confirmed. They entered the final phase chamber. The 3 Naveri who had been in deep quiet time were now showing signs of increased activity. Their bodies, almost completely separated into identical pairs, twitched occasionally. Only a thin connection remained between each set of twins. It's beginning, Lena whispered. Ta watched in amazement as the first Naveri's connection began to stretch and thin. There was a moment of tension in the room, and then suddenly, the connection broke. Where one being had been, 2 identical Naveri now lay side by side, their head appendages beginning to move independently. The same process repeated with the other two. Within 30 minutes, 6 Navari existed where previously there had been 3. The medical team moved in to check each new individual. They share the same memories and knowledge as their original self, Lena explained to Ta. But from this moment, they will begin to have separate experiences and become distinct individuals. Fascinating, Ta murmured, taking notes on his datapad. So unlike human reproduction, yet equally remarkable in its own way. One of the newly divided Navari noticed Ta and stared with obvious surprise. The medical supervisor quickly moved to block the Navari's view. "We should leave now," Lena said, sensing tension in the room. The new individuals need time to adjust. As they exited the chamber, Elder Keto approached them with his head appendages rigid, a sign of disapproval that Ta had learned to recognize. "This was inappropriate," the elder said coldly. "A non-Navari should not witness the sacred moment of division." The Science Council approved this observation. Lena replied calmly. "Human Ta is a respected xenobiologist conducting important research. Research that spreads falsehoods about impossible reproductive practices," Elder Keto said sharply. "I have reviewed your Earth reports. They cannot be accurate." Ta stepped forward. "With respect, Elder, everything in our research is documented with scientific evidence. I understand it seems strange to you, just as Navari division seemed strange to me when I first learned about it." The elder's skin darkened, a sign of anger. "You claim humans grow inside other humans, that you combine genetic material in a chaotic random process. These are biologically impossible concepts that contradict sound evolutionary principles." Other elders gathered around, their appendages twitching with agitation. What had begun as a scientific observation was quickly becoming a confrontation. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion later," Lena suggested diplomatically. "No," Elder Keto said firmly. "This has gone far enough. I am calling an emergency meeting of the Science Council. The humans' presence on our world must be reconsidered." 2 hours later, Ta found himself sitting alone in an antechamber, while Lena defended their research before the Science Council. He could hear raised voices through the thick doors, but couldn't make out the words. A young Navari assistant brought him a cup of water. "Are humans really born from inside other humans?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Ta answered simply. "It's how we've evolved over millions of years." The assistant's appendages trembled with curiosity. "The younger scientists believe you. It's mostly the elders who resist." Before she could say more, the doors opened. Lena emerged looking troubled, her blue skin slightly paler than normal. "What happened?" Ta asked as they walked back to his quarters. "Elder Keto has formally accused us of spreading biological misinformation," Lena explained. "He claims our research could contaminate Navari scientific understanding and confuse young researchers." "But we have evidence," Ta protested. "Videos, medical scans, genetic analysis. Some believe the evidence has been manipulated," Lena said. "They cannot conceive of a reproductive system so different from our own." That evening, news of the controversy spread quickly through the Science Academy. Groups of Navari students gathered outside Ta's quarters, some curious to learn more about human biology, others protesting his presence. "I never intended to cause trouble," Ta said as he and Lena watched the commotion from his window. "Scientific truth often causes trouble at first," Lena replied. "When I first arrived on Earth, I also doubted. It takes time to accept concepts that challenge our fundamental understanding." The next morning, Ta was summoned to appear before the full Science Council. The circular chamber was filled with 50 Navari elders and scientists, their appendages moving in various patterns of agitation and interest. Elder Darrow, who had initially welcomed Ta to the planet, spoke first. "Human Ta, serious concerns have been raised about the research you are conducting with scientist Lena. Elder Keto has formally requested your immediate departure from our world." Ta stepped forward respectfully. "I understand these concerns. New ideas can be challenging. When Lena first came to Earth, Many of her questions seemed strange to us, because our reproductive method is so normal to humans. Now I find myself in the same position. Elder Keto interrupted. This is not about new ideas. This is about biological impossibilities being presented as fact. No advanced species could evolve such an inefficient, dangerous reproductive system. Murmurs spread through the council. Ta noticed that the younger Navari scientists seemed less convinced by Elder Keto's arguments. If I may, Lena said, stepping forward. I too was skeptical when I began this research, but after observing human reproduction firsthand, I can confirm that everything in our reports is accurate. Different evolutionary pressures led our species to different solutions. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Elder Darrow raised a hand for silence. We must consider this matter carefully. Until a decision is reached, human Todd will remain in restricted quarters. Scientist Lena, you will cease all public discussions of this research. As guards escorted Todd back to his quarters, now effectively under house arrest, he saw groups of young Navari scientists watching with concerned expressions. What happens now? He asked Lena before the guards separated them. This has become more than a scientific disagreement, she replied quietly. It's now a diplomatic incident between our worlds. I must choose between my scientific integrity and my standing in Navari society. Ta nodded solemnly. Truth should always come first in science, no matter how uncomfortable. Yes, Lena agreed, her appendages straight with resolve. And I will stand by our research, whatever the personal cost. As the door to his quarters closed, Tay realized that their simple cultural exchange had evolved into something far more significant, a test case for how different species could share knowledge when that knowledge challenged deeply held beliefs. The outcome would affect not just their research, but potentially relations between humans and Navari for generations to come. 3 days had passed since Ty was placed under house arrest. His quarters were comfortable but lonely. Young Navari scientists occasionally smuggled him messages of support, but official communication was restricted. Through his window, he could see the twin suns rise and set over the purple landscape of Navari Prime, wondering if he would ever be allowed to continue his research. On the morning of the 4th day, his door opened unexpectedly. Lena entered, her head appendages twitching with excitement. The High Council has agreed to a full hearing, she announced. We have one chance to present all our evidence. Ta stood up quickly. What changed their minds? Public opinion, Lena explained. Many younger scientists have been protesting your confinement. And something else happened. One of the newly divided Navari from the ceremony you witnessed came forward. She said seeing you made her curious about other species, and she believes knowledge should not be suppressed. Hope returned to Ta's eyes. When is the hearing? Tomorrow at midday. We have until then to prepare our presentation. They worked through the day and night, organizing all their research data. Ta gathered every piece of evidence they had collected on Earth, medical scans, videos of fetal development, genetic analyses, and birth records going back centuries. We need something more personal, Lena suggested as morning approached. Something that shows the emotional aspect of human reproduction. Tai thought for a moment, then smiled. I know exactly what to add. The great hall of knowledge was filled beyond capacity the next day. Hundreds of Navari gathered to witness the unprecedented hearing. At the center of the room stood a circular platform where Ta and Lena would present their case to the 7 members of the High Council, the most senior scientists and leaders of Navari society. Elder Keto spoke first, his voice echoing through the hall. We are gathered to determine whether the human reproductive research should be rejected as biologically impossible, and whether the human scientist should be expelled from our world. High Counselor Mela, the eldest and most respected Navari scientist, raised her hand. Before accusations are made, let the researchers present their evidence in full. Lena stepped forward, her voice steady despite her nervousness. Esteemed council, fellow scientists, I came to Earth believing human reproduction was a myth or exaggeration. I return to you now certain of its reality. Today we will show you proof beyond any reasonable doubt. For the next hour, Ty and Lena presented their research methodically. They showed high-resolution scans of human embryonic development, explained the genetic mechanisms of sexual reproduction, and displayed medical imaging of babies in the womb. When they finished the scientific portion, Ty activated one final holographic display. The image showed his sister Minna holding her newborn child, tears of joy streaming down her face as her husband embraced them both. "This is my sister's family," Ty explained softly. Through human reproduction, they created a new life that shares genetic traits from both parents. The inefficiency you see in our reproductive method has a purpose. It creates genetic diversity and strong family bonds that help our species thrive. The hall was silent. Even Elder Keto seemed moved by the image. High Counselor Mela spoke after a long pause. "Scientist Lena, do you stake your professional reputation on the accuracy of this research?" "I do," Lena replied without hesitation. "What appears impossible through the lens of our own biology is simply a different evolutionary path." The High Council withdrew to deliberate. The wait seemed endless as Ta and Lena stood before the assembled crowd. Finally, after 2 hours, the council returned. High Counselor Mela addressed the hall. "We have considered all evidence presented today. While Navari and human reproduction differ dramatically, we find no reason to doubt the scientific validity of the research. Knowledge, even when it challenges our understanding, must not be suppressed." Cheers erupted from the younger Navari scientists. Elder Keto's appendages drooped in disappointment, but he offered no further objection. "Furthermore," Mela continued, "we propose the establishment of a permanent interspecies biological research institute, where scientists from both our worlds can study and learn from our differences." 1 month later, Ty and Lena stood together at the dedication ceremony for the new institute, a beautiful building designed to incorporate both Navari and human architectural elements. Representatives from Earth had arrived for the occasion, including Dr. Min from the medical center. "I never expected our research to lead to this," Ta said as they watched humans and Navari mingling in the garden. "The best science often leads to unexpected places," Lena replied. Her appendages moved in what Tai now recognized as a pattern of pride and satisfaction. The institute quickly became a center for xenobiological research across the galaxy. Other species sent representatives to share their own reproductive methods, some even more unusual than either human or Navari processes. 6 months later, Tai prepared to return to Earth. His research assignment was complete, though he would continue as an advisor to the institute. "Will you visit Earth again?" he asked Lena as they walked through the institute gardens one last time. "Soon," she promised. "The council has appointed me as head researcher for the next exchange program. 10 young Navari scientists will accompany me to study different aspects of human biology." "And Elder Keto?" Tai asked with a smile. "He's retired from the Science Council," Lena said, her appendages twitching with amusement. "But surprisingly, he's requested to join our next expedition to Earth. He says he wants to see human reproduction for himself before his next division." On his last evening on Navari Prime, Ta stood on the observation deck watching the twin suns set. Lena joined him, carrying a small package. "A gift," she explained, handing it to him. "It's traditional to give something meaningful when paths diverge." Tai opened it to find a beautiful crystal sphere. Inside, a holographic image showed a Navari completing division beside a human mother holding her newborn child. "Different paths, same miracle," Lena said. "The creation of new life." Tai touched the sphere gently. "When I first came here, I was focused on the biological differences between our species. Now I see something more important: how understanding those differences brings us closer together." As the last light of the twin suns faded, they stood together in comfortable silence. Their work had done more than advance science. It had built a bridge between worlds. In learning to see life through each other's eyes, they had discovered a deeper truth: that knowledge shared with respect and openness could overcome even the most fundamental differences. The stars began to appear in the purple sky, each one possibly hosting life forms with their own unique ways of continuing their species. The universe, they had learned, was far more diverse and wonderful than either of their peoples had imagined.